We like to believe that the world is fully mapped. We trust the satellites, the algorithms, and the little blue lines that crisscross our digital globes. We feel safe knowing that every corner of our reality has been indexed and archived. But we forget that the lens of a camera is just as fallible as the human eye. Sometimes the sensors capture things they weren't meant to see. Sometimes the mapping software accidentally bridges the gap between our world and the place they call 7am. It started on a Tuesday night, a time when the silence of the house feels heavy and the glow of the monitor is the only thing keeping the shadows at bay. I was bored, scrolling aimlessly through Google Street View, wandering through the streets of my own childhood neighborhood. There is a strange comfort in digital nostalgia, in seeing the old trees and the familiar cracks in the pavement from 1,000 miles away. But then, I found a street that shouldn't have been there. It was a narrow alleyway, wedged between two suburban blocks I knew by heart. On the map, the line was blue, but the preview thumbnail was a solid, lifeless gray. Curious, I clicked on it. The screen didn't flicker. It didn't load. It simply transitioned into a world that felt fundamentally broken. The resolution dropped instantly. The vibrant colors of the neighborhood were replaced by a sickening monochromatic haze. The houses were there, but they looked like unfinished clay models. The windows were nothing but black, lightless rectangles. The sky wasn't blue or even cloudy. It was the color of a dead television channel, a static gray that seemed to hum with a low-frequency vibration. I tried to click back to the main road, but the cursor didn't move. I dragged the mouse across the pad, but the little white arrow stayed pinned to the center of that gray street. I clicked the back button on my browser. Nothing. I tried to close the tab, but the X had simply vanished from the interface. A cold chill crawled up my spine, the kind that makes the hair on your neck stand up before you even know why you're afraid. I looked at the Street View image again. In the distance, a figure was standing in the middle of the road. It was blurred, a mess of digital artifacts and jagged pixels, but it was staring directly at the camera. As I watched, the image refreshed. The figure was closer now. It didn't walk. It just existed 10 feet nearer than it had a second ago. Suddenly, the green light on my laptop's webcam flickered to life. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I hadn't opened any camera apps. I hadn't granted any permissions. But a small window popped up in the corner of my screen. It showed my room. It showed me sitting in my chair, bathed in the pale light of the monitor. But the room in the video wasn't my room. Not exactly. The wallpaper was peeling away in long, wet strips. The air in the video looked thick with dust and a strange, hovering soot. Behind me, in the reflection of the darkened window on the screen, I saw the same gray figure from the Street View map. I spun around, my breath hitching in my throat. My room was normal. The walls were clean. I was alone. But when I looked back at the screen, the version of me in the video was screaming, though no sound came from the speakers. The pixelation began to spread. I looked down at my hands and gasped. The edges of my fingers were becoming jagged and blurry. The color was draining from my skin, turning me into the same lifeless gray as the street on the map. I tried to stand up, but my legs felt heavy, like they were being rendered out of lead. The smell of ozone and burnt plastic filled the air, a digital rot that stung my nostrils and made my eyes water. The monitor began to glow with a blinding, static light, pulling the reality of the room into its frame. I reached out to touch the desk, but my hand passed through the wood as if it were nothing but a glitch in the code. The walls of my apartment began to dissolve into blocks of gray noise, revealing the infinite, empty street of 7am behind them. I realized then that the internet hadn't just mapped our world. It had created a cage for it. Every time we upload a piece of ourselves, every time we let a satellite scan our homes, we leave a door open. And now I was being pulled through that door. I was becoming a data point in a purgatory that never deletes its files. I looked at the cursor one last time. It was moving now, but I wasn't the one controlling it. It clicked on the save icon. My vision went gray. My voice became static. If you are reading this or hearing this, be careful where you click. Some streets are gray for a reason, and once you enter the low-resolution nightmare of 7am, There is no undo button for your soul. I am still here, somewhere between the pixels, waiting for the next person to get lost on a gray street.